Boom, we're live. What's up, everybody?
Happy Friday.
Hello.
Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks, right, John? What's it been? 2-3 weeks?
We've been very sporadic lately with our shows because we've had like between my book thing and then we had some comic stuff we had to package up, and so we spent a Friday night doing that. So our shows have not been weekly like they typically have. So it feels weird taking a few weeks off and getting back at it, but here we are. So
Great. Good to be back.
Yeah. Yep. You and your porch shows there, smoking cigars out there.
I know the weather finally broke, man. It's great. 8 months of being like an Eskimo out in my igloo up here. So it's great to finally be able to be back out on the porch for sure.
Well, that's a good segue.
I know it's going. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about Bishop, which I finished this morning. I love how I keep timing this to finish the book the day of the show because it's fresh in my mind. So, but I plowed through this book this morning, like the last 50 pages. So I'm excited to talk about it. I really enjoyed it. I posted a review on social media today. So excited to talk about it. So first of all, I didn't even know this was a Dawn cover, Dawn Noble. I was looking it up. I'm like, this cover's so awesome. I love this thing. So stupid reflections. But Joel, this guy,
here we go, buddy. Throw it up there.
He does some killer book covers. So and it's so cool because he changes the style up. So like with a lot of the cover artists out there, like you're like, yep, that's a so-and-so cover. You just know. But with Dawn, I swear, like sometimes I'm like, holy crap, that's a Dawn cover. Like I wouldn't have known. Like he just changes it up so nice. So, so I wanted to shout out Dawn on the cover there. Since we are a comic company, technically, we appreciate the art too. So, so when Dawn sent you that cover, were you pretty excited about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent it over and was like, so here's a rough draft. And I was like, no, you're done. We're done. Like, don't touch it. He was like, I just need to tweak some things. And I was like, okay, don't change nothing else. And because, that was it. I was just like, you nailed it. That's all I want on it. It's just that catches your eye, and it was just like in your face. I was like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
I love Dawn, so yeah.
Any of those covers with the red, they just do it. We talk about it all the time. We want to do a red cover for a comic book. They just stand out. They look so nice. So, but I definitely, I try to be as spoiler free as possible on the show. Joel will admit that I tend to sometimes say more than I should about plots. So I'm trying to bite my tongue about, the actual story itself, but I definitely want to talk about some aspects of it because there's some of my favorite aspects to read about. So obviously a key component of the story is the whole mythology of the Wendigo, which I didn't know. I have to fully admit this. I didn't know anything about the Wendigo until I read Pet Sematary when I was a kid. And I remember thinking, what on earth is that? So I started looking it up, and all I ever wanted was to find horror novels that were based around a Wendigo. So obviously this cover caught my eye, but when I read, about the plot, I'm like, I am so sold on this book. So, so where was your first experience with the Wendigo, folklore? Like what got you into it?
Wendigo. I don't remember actually. It wasn't a movie. It was something I had read years ago. It was a horror story, but I don't remember what it was. And from there, I have read several other ones. Who had a Wendigo in it? The Splatter Westerns came out last year, 2020 through 2021. Yeah. And I want to say the one written by Mike Annenbach, Hunger on the Chisholm Trail.
Okay.
Features one.
No
and
kidding.
That was the most recent one that I had read. And I was like, that's really cool to put into the Splatter Western books. Of course, they're all set in the Wild West and everything. And I quit researching them at that point. I didn't want to read any more about them. I kind of knew I wanted to write about one, but the idea for this book was not yet in my head. So when I got the idea for this, I was trying to come up with, okay, well, I have the main character, but what am I going to pit him against? I knew it was going to be in the woods and it was going to be up north. And then I was like, oh, the Wendigo originates from up there. It also originates in the Native American folklore, a lot of which originated with the Inuit Indians and the Eskimo tribes. So I thought that would be perfect to pit the two of them. And no one that I know of so far, or anyone that I have spoken to, has ever heard of anyone writing about a werebear. They're like, you mean a werewolf? I'm like, no, werebear. So I was that idea actually came up with a friend of mine, really, really old friend of mine. And we were talking about possible things I could write about. And he threw it out there. And I was like, why not? So, yeah, I actually named it after him. It's actually his name that is the title of the book.
That's so cool.
And the idea came from him. And I just started working on it. And I ran with it, and the only thing I could think of to really make it stand out and to have that really like epic fight scene in there and at the end was the Wendigos, because they're creepy as hell when you read about them. They're very accustomed to the woods. They can hide in the woods. They stalk their prey for hundreds of miles. They usually do not give up on their prey once they have your scent. Like, they'll follow you to your house. Once they want you, they want you. And I thought, well, this should be interesting. And we have to wait on Wendigo.
That honestly, that's what always creep me out about them, is that they just and they play with you, like the whole idea of they just not only are they stalking you, but they're just like toying with you to scare you, because they feed off your fear, so that was really well done, because obviously it's a the Wendigo stalking a kid and her mom, so from the kid's perspective, I mean, my horror novel, the main characters are a group of kids. I love when the kids are like, a focal point, because they're just so vulnerable, so I really liked that whole aspect of it as well. But I just want to, I can't let that comment go by that Joel just put up about from Donna there. That was shifter romance books. I wouldn't have put that on her. Yeah, I don't know if there's she's a member of the Books of Horror community. I don't know if they have a shifter romance community. I'm interested to find out.
Oh, they do. They are called reverse harems. They are shifter books, and they usually involve packs of wolves, like werewolves and things, shapeshifters of all sorts. But yeah,
no kidding.
There's a whole community for it.
Oh man, it's not like a Furby community or whatever they call it. What do they call it? People that wear like furry costumes.
Furries, yeah, no,
furries.
Not quite. I don't think they dress up, but there is certainly a community of them.
Oh man,
on the dark web. Some weird stuff. Right?
I'm not going to get that in my search history unless I'm writing a book about them. But Even then, that's going on the private tab on my iPhone. I'm not going to be searching.
Yeah, you need a VPN.
Yeah. Oh,
Anyone
man.
want to role play as a shapeshifter?
Yeah. Oh, so, with Bishop. Oh, by the way, no, it's not furries. Joel, what she did for Bishop, I would never do for you. So don't, if you give me a book idea, I'm not going to name my book Joel, just so you know.
Oh, I kind of did already.
True.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It looks like my name, but it's not. So.
I don't have a copy of it. That was kind of a bad joke because we have a comic book named Yule, but it's spelled Jol. So a lot of people call it Joel. They think we named it after him. So
well, sometimes it's not that bad. I mean, come on, give me a break. Right? It's like Yule log.
Yeah. No, that's really cool though that you did that. That I'm sure he appreciated that, and Bishop's a pretty badass character. So I know in my review, I said I hope we learn more about him down the line. So I don't know.
Yeah. I already announced it, so there will be a part 2 coming this winter. Mm-hmm.
How did I miss that? Okay, well that's exciting. Yeah, well, awesome. So I should probably edit my review then and say I knew that. I said I hope we learn more about Bishop in the future. Yeah, she already announced it, you dummy.
I think it was kind of announced very quietly. Might have been like a month ago. I did a live Horror Nerds interview, and I think I possibly talked about it there briefly, but it's already in the works. So, because people like you kept asking, I believe the first person was Donna, and my other super fan, and she was the first one to, probably her and the person who gave me the idea for the book, they probably read it at the exact same time, and they both were like, so that's not the end of him, right? I was like, so yeah, it's already in the works.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. That was, at the end of the book, I'm like, man, I want to know more about this guy. So that's cool. And, obviously it builds up pretty quick. In my review, I talked about what I love about novellas is how you can just drop the main characters right in the thick of it and just, build the character development as you basically are throwing them right in the fire, instead of, adding a lot of fluff up front. So, really, I mean, it starts off pretty much right from the get-go, balls to the wall. And I mentioned once we meet the antagonist, the gore is definitely not. It comes in short order after you meet the antagonist, and it doesn't really let up from there. So, so anyone that likes some gore, you probably don't consider it, overly gory, right? I mean, no. I was shocked when people said that about my book, that there's, he doesn't let up on the gore, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not extreme. I wasn't like, I don't know. So, but anytime someone's crawling through the snow with their intestines hanging out, I think, it's
maybe a little gory.
A little gory, right? Yeah. It's not for people like us that.
I mean, it's a horror book. So.
It's true. This is true. Yeah. But, and you're not going to have a werebear and a Wendigo without some blood. So.
No, they're not there for a picnic. They're not.
Right. Unless you're reading one of Donna's shifter romances. That could be.
You never know.
The Odd Couple.
Things get interesting there.
Do I sense a crossover coming up? Maybe book 3 will have a little.
Not for me. Not for me.
A pen name. Yeah. Oh man. So is that next up for you, or do you have something else coming up before that?
I have so many things coming out. I have I'm not sure of the release yet, but I just sent my I have 3 chap books that were just sent to Death Heads Press. I believe they'll be out this year. I'm thinking like fall. So those will be out. So there are 3 of those. I have another chapbook coming out, I think, in September. That is it'll be my story plus 2 other stories that I'm writing with 2 other authors. I don't really think it's really been fully announced yet, so I'm not going to name who, but
Okay.
that will be out in September. I have an anthology coming out with Rebecca Rowland. She has an anthology coming out for it's called American Cannibal. So that's a fun story.
Sounds
I
fun
got
to
a
me.
story in there. That won't be out. I think that'll be out in March, so right in time for AuthorCon. And I'm doing a story for, I think I'm gonna get the name wrong. Sinister Smile Press with R.E. Sargent. Is that right?
Okay, yeah. Yep.
They're doing a just a girl anthology, which was just announced in the last month. I have another story, like a novella length story, coming out, I believe, the first week of July, in a anthology from Macabre Ladies Press called Sins and Virtues. It's a 2-volume. So
Oh, yes.
one story is all based on the sins, one is based on the virtues, and my story is in the virtues one. So that will be out very soon. Amazon had a glitch, so that was delayed. It was actually supposed to be out last week. So that will be the first one out. Then, so that one, probably the chapbook's next, the other chapbook after that. The 2 anthologies for American Cannibal, and Just a Girl will be out next March. I just was offered to do a book for Thunderstorm, which I think
nice.
will be out at the end of the year. My book Hank Flynn was just picked up by Erie River for a series. So re-release of Hank Flynn happening, I believe, late September, and then the second installment right after that. And then you will have the next installment of Bishop in the winter.
So safe to say it's not next. There's a lot. Holy moly, yeah.
Not too much. Not
Making the book bed. Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, I actually didn't mention like 3 or 4 that I can't mention yet. So
wow.
I believe there's like 15 things that I'll be in or a part of in the next 6 to 9 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. That's really awesome. So, and I'm interested to check out the chapbooks because I didn't really even know what they were until Ronald Kelly was mentioning his coming out, and then I saw, some other authors that I read, talking about coming out with some, and I'm like, what are these things? And I didn't realize they used to be, a thing, and Death Heads, they're bringing them back. So
yeah,
that's a really cool.
Basically, like a novella length like story, and well, maybe not quite as long. I think they're all supposed to be between like 10 to 15,000 words, like round about there. I'm really excited to see what mine look like because the covers for ones look amazing.
Yeah.
So I do know there are, last I heard, I believe there were 6 or 7 of us that had been signed. And I might have missed a couple of them, but there was Ron Kelly, Just Strand. I was signed. Dan Volpe, I think Aaron Beauregard was signed. Yeah. Bridget Nelson was just signed as well. I think right at the end of last month. So
that's good for her. I love Bridget. Yeah, that whole group right there. That's awesome. So I met Bridget at AuthorCon actually, but we had both of our. I don't know if it was her first one actually. It was technically my first short story that got published.
Yeah.
Together in the Beach Bodies anthology from Darklit. That was the first thing I ever had published in a book. But yeah, I can't wait to check those out. I still have to read Hank Flynn, but That's awesome. That, you know, it's like binging, right? You wait for the whole show to be done, and then you get to just fly through them all together. So, but man, you make me feel bad about myself. You know, that's a lot of work in a short time frame. That's incredible.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Yeah. Oh man.
I guess my question, Candace, for something like that with that workload is how are you able to manage your day? Like, what does your approach look like that you're able to be so prolific like that?
I don't eat or sleep or drink or leave my house. And I have these giant trusty whiteboards that, are this big.
There you go.
Everything is listed. This one's a double-sided one. There's another one for my whole month back there. I track everything. I have to because I have a day job. And then I take a break for about an hour and a half. And then from about 7 o'clock until between 12:30 and 1 a.m., it's all writing related work. I have my editing business that I do. I have my website that I run, and I think you guys already know that I had to add 2 people to help me review because I was buried. And we post between 4 to 6 book reviews each week. I do author interviews on there each week, so I update my website every weekend with new stuff. I was just named VP for the House of Stitch and Stitch Smile Publications. So we've been working on refreshing and revamping both the publishing house and the magazine, and our next issue will be out here very soon. So between the magazine, my website, my newsletter, the Buy Me a Coffee website that I run, keeping up on social media, like everything is a full-time job. And I schedule pretty much every hour of my evenings out, and then all weekend long is just pretty much scheduled. It's an hour of this, and then I switch, hats, and I do an hour of this, and then I sit down to take a break in which I'm reading for the next review I have to do. Yeah. And then I switch back again and I do like another editing job, and then I answer my emails. I even have time scheduled out to actually sit on my phone and scroll through like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and do like all my updates and all my engagement and reader engagement, and just making sure I take the time to like respond to everyone and keep up with everyone. And I know I miss a lot, but I try really hard to answer everybody and make sure everyone knows what I'm up to and what I'm doing. And yeah, it's a lot.
You seem on top of it on social media, so I wouldn't notice you missing anything. So, geez, that's wild. I want to write at night. I struggle to sit down at like 9 o'clock and write. Like, I try to write on my lunch breaks and like if I have any dead time during my day job, which hopefully my boss isn't watching. I've said that on multiple shows, so if they ever go back and watch, I mean, I could get canned easily.
You're just
multi-tasking on your lunch break.
That's true. Yeah. I'm really not.
Lunch break.
Yeah, I want to be Candace when I grow up. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Me too. I actually wrote my first 2 on my phone. Almost the entire first 2 were written on my phone. And I was literally writing everywhere I was, other than during my day job, because I get so many emails and things there that I could never, like, there would not be even time for me to do any of that. But I would write in the car, like going to the grocery store. I would wander around the grocery store and have the kids go get what we need. And I'm like standing, pushing the cart, and I'm like writing on my phone. I would be in the waiting room at the doctor's office and I'm writing on my phone. Just anything, as long as I had the story in my head to unfold, I was doing it all on my phone. I was using the Scrivener app, which links to your phone and to your PC, and it synchronizes everything. So no matter where I was, I could always continue the story. And then once I got home and I was ready to write for the night, I could switch right to my stop and pick up
Oh my gosh.
where I was.
How did I not know about that?
Like on the cloud.
I was using Pages on my iPhone, and I bought a PC instead of a Mac for my new laptop, and I'm like, when I'm copy and pasting it, putting it in an email, sending it over, and then it's not formatted right, and I'm like, this is not working for me. So I should probably look into that.
Or
Scriver.
Atticus now too.
Okay.
Well, Atticus is it's like an app, so you can access it on your phone, you can access it on your PC, you can log in, and Atticus will also allow you to format as you write. You can write within the app itself and everything, and when it pulls out a nice little file already for your Amazon upload. Wherever you're going to upload to, you get a PDF upload, you get your EPUB, and then your EPUB, you throw it into Calibre and pop out your other file, a Mobi file, and you got everything you need. It's beautifully done. Everything is ready to go, and the upload is just smooth. You pop that in there, and Amazon's like, yay, and you're done. So
wow,
well worth the $100 that I spent on that. It was it's great.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Man, I seriously, I'm not old, but I'm terrible with technology. I don't. I'll hire out everybody to do everything because I'm like, I have no freaking clue what I'm doing. Like I have other author friends that do their own formatting, and they're like, man, it's easy if you just get stuff, you just teach yourself. And I'm like, I
knew nothing about it, but Atticus came out. I was looking at it. I was like, let me go on this website. And then they have a whole list of tutorials you can take. And it'll actually walk you through like everything it does, how to do everything. And it's nice because they're in little like 2-3 minute little snippets. So it's literally just how do I do blah. And it just tells you how to do that one thing. So you can kind of work through it as you're writing, learn it as you go, and the formatting is done for you. It's simple. I wish I had it when I was formatting the Baker's Dozen, because that I almost went bald trying to format that shit because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this anthology. It'd be great.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was a learning experience, but I learned. And it turned out
it did.
I was going to ask, like, with all these projects going on, and like just an example like that, what are some of the biggest challenges that you find as you approach these types of projects, in your day to day or just your process?
Not having a clue what you're doing. No idea.
Right.
Like the Baker's Dozen, like that was. I don't know why I had the idea. I don't know what made me think it. I don't even know why I thought I could do it. But I was like, I want to do something fun. Like a big old little, mic drop. I'm here, And I had this idea in my head. And when I had started reviewing the authors that I had first gotten friendly with, just so happened to be the extreme author crowd, the splatterpunk crowd, and Aaron Beauregard and Dan Volpe and Carver Pike and that whole crowd. And I was like, hey guys, you want to do this book with me? Because I don't have a clue what I'm doing, and I've been out here 9 months. And I expected all of them to say no. I'd be like, who is this chick? Like, what does she think we're gonna do? And they all came back and said yeah. And I was like, oh.
This is really happening.
Do this now.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how hard can it be? Like, is this putting together a book? Like, so instead of me writing one long book, I'm just putting a bunch of little books together, right? No. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I cried a few times. Lisa Vasquez from the House of Stitch, she owns the House of Stitch and Stitch Smile. I begged her quite a few times. I was like, I'm trying to format will stay. Like, she's like, I got you. And she was walking me through like how to do it and like helping me with the formatting, because that jet black pages that I wanted to print it on. Yeah, so I found out real quick that to do the formatting for that is not fun. It's not user friendly. And oh yeah, the printing places don't do it. I had to find a specialty printer to print the hardcovers because nobody could do it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this because I already said I'm doing it, and I already had it in my head, like this is what I wanted, and I wasn't taking no's. So I just kept interviewing private printers until I found one that could. And when I did, I got on the phone with them and I talked them through everything I wanted. I was like, this is how it has to look on every page. Like, this is what I want. If you can't do it, I need to know right now because I need to find, they were great. They handled it all. When the proof came, I honestly, I had tears because it was just beautiful.
Exactly what you want. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. People loved it. And I'm so glad it's done. And I was like, well, I'm never going to do that again.
That was my next question. So you answered it. I was going to say, you're going to put yourself through it again.
We had the same question. I was going to say, Candace, knowing what you know now, going through those experiences at this point in your career, what would you have done differently? If you
I would have bought a formatting program first.
There you go, John.
I would have been like, okay, wait, what can help me do this? Work smarter, not harder. And maybe learn a little bit more about what you want to do before your brain runs away with things and like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. It'll be great. Sure. All right. But I don't have any regrets. I really liked how it turned out. I like the different styles that we use. Dawn Noble, of course, did the cover for both the paperback and the ebook version, which is a whole different cover than the black and white one back here. Because I wanted both of them to be very distinct. Like this version, you're only getting this, and this version, you're getting all of this. And he nailed them both. They looked great. The layout was great. And then that kind of helped put me on the map, though, too, because I was starting to make a little bit of traction at that point, and people were starting to get to know me, and my website was doing very well, but my book sales were slow, like not tragic, but
yeah,
new. So once The Baker's Dozen came out and people actually saw what I had done and they started reading the quality of the stories, and every single one of them just turned out great, and not one story is like any other one, and people were loving it, so they started going back and buying all of my books. So then ever since, and even now, like everything has started to sell weekly. I sell a couple of like each one each week, and I'm getting a lot more reviews now. My newsletter went up probably by about 250 names just in the last like 6 months.
Wow.
So it's been slow, but with the amount of work I have put in and with the newsletter and the website and like everything that I keep trying to put out and stay on top of, my name is slowly making its way around. So, and it's, it's helping. It's a lot of work, but it's helping. And I think after this year with everything coming out, I think next year will be pretty much like a game changer.
Yeah.
And if not, then I'll just keep going, and maybe the next year will be a game changer.
Keep grinding. Well, I mean, obviously you're putting in the work, so it's just a matter of time, right? And it's quality content too. It's not just quantity over quality either. So the fact that you can put that much on your plate and still put out quality stuff, I mean, that's pretty much a winning combination right there, right? So yeah, so it feels like it would be a matter of time either way. Hopefully, I got a table at AuthorCon next year, so yeah. So I promise I won't walk by your table and not say hi this time. I
do not ignore me.
Don't ignore you. Yeah. Oh man. I'm excited for that. I don't want to push the summer along, but I'm very excited for AuthorCon next year. 2024. What? We're not in 2023 yet, are we? Hey, what about Nola 23? You skipped a year.
Adam's like, well,
I think it's for president, John. They wanted to run for president.
Okay.
Put that
run for president. No, I'm not there yet. I don't want to run for president. I just want my own fan club. That's all. Is that too much?
Be the president.
I'm sure you could slide in a U.S. presidency in your day. Like that seems like something you could easily, given your schedule there, you could easily
Just
find a way.
sneak me right into the Oval Office. Like, so she's going on the country. Any questions?
Oh man, yeah. So I wanted to ask, because obviously with Bishop, there's a lot of survivor. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I can't say the word right now.
Survival skills?
Well, yeah, there you go. That's an easier way to say it. Survival skills. But did you research a ton of that? Did you already know a bunch about that, or?
I knew most of it. I didn't really research any of it. It's just all things that I have learned. So I'm a bit of an oddball, and am kind of obsessed with like the end of days and survival and prepping and that whole thing. So when the zombies take over, my family and I are not dying. Okay, so we got a game plan, and it's been a long running interest of mine. I don't know why, but it got in my head one day, and I was like, that would be some good shit to just know, just in case, because okay, maybe zombies won't attack, but something else could happen. And then what if, one day the whole economy collapses and there's no more electricity and there's no more, or you get in a car crash on your way to grandma's house up in the mountains. Like, what are you gonna do? Could you survive it? And that's always been one of them interesting things that's kind of like stayed in my head. Like, could I survive that? So over the years, I've done a lot of reading and research into different survival skills, different techniques and things. I used to read a ton of zombie books. I had like a 5-year phase where that was all I read until I finally was like, all right, just like they're all the same. So that, it's interesting what they put in a zombie book that you don't really think of until you read it. You're like, oh, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So those little things kind of like stuck in my head as I went along. So all of the skills that Casey employed, they were all little things that I actually have here in my house.
No kidding.
I got into a phase at one point where I actually made some survival kits for like my house, and all the little things that I had mentioned and the things that she uses and the little tricks, they're all things that I have, that I own, that I've tested or I've researched or that I've learned from my dad. Like, we lived out in the country my whole life. My dad was a hunter. He was always out in the woods, and we spent a lot of time like out in the woods, like hiking with him and looking for mushrooms and whatever. And he was always trying to like teach you, if you get lost, this is what you do. You can eat this, and you can, look for water like this, and you see this plant, you can eat this. Can't eat this one, but you can eat this one. Like, he spent a lot of our childhood trying to like teach us little things like that. So if something were to happen, we could at least manage to survive the night or two, hopefully, if we were paying attention. So it's all been like a lifelong, just little things I've just learned.
That's even more impressive then. That wasn't just researching, like that was just knowledge you had. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going during the zombie apocalypse. So
I'll add you to my list.
I'm sure you got a big list going.
I do. Man. Yeah. There is a list of family and friends and people with certain skills that will be, they will be sought out and rescued and brought to the compound. And
this is true. The first thing you'd ask me is what can you bring to the table, and I'd be like, I
know, John, you might be out.
Yeah, it might be.
Better learn something.
Oh man, Joel's you're big on the being self-sufficient stuff, so I'm sure you've probably researched some of that stuff too. But...
a lot of work. Yeah, every day you learn something new, right? So
yeah.
I'm out in the country. I totally did the COVID thing and bailed out of the city and went to the woods, right? So yeah. I figured, by the time the revolution comes, it'll at least take a little bit to get to my door so I can be prepared versus living in the city. So, right. I can at least see it coming. Get my rifle ready, whatever I got to do. I always joke with my wife though that she's basically Sarah Connor from T2 at this point. So she's constantly prepping, getting ready for stuff. So she learned how to spin wool the other day. That's her jam now. She's spinning wool. So we can make a sweater.
You might have to one day.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
I just think you should be prepared for something. You can't just sit around and think you're always going to be 100% safe no matter where you are. If you live in town or in the mountains or you're driving someplace, there's ice, there's black ice, there's other drivers on the road you got to watch out for. Like, could you survive it long enough to get back to your kids or to get back to your life or whatever? Like, I think you do, if you have kids at all or a spouse, you owe it to them to at least know how to do a little bit of something.
Yeah, there's some talk and mumbles. I run in. I'm not a big like conspiracy theorist guy. I like it. I like to read about it. I think it's interesting. Do I buy into it all? No, but it's interesting. Yes. And there's a theory that there's going to be a food shortage coming soon as part of that. So trying to get ready for food and being able to make your own food, grow your own food, have your own stuff, right? Hunt, do all that thing. It's like there's a probable cause maybe that
yeah,
potentially coming. Yeah. So
yeah,
who knows?
Who
knows?
I'm very screwed. I bought a chest freezer.
Send you directions to my house. You just
yeah, but I'm a nice person. Like I'll keep people company.
Nice I'm good to talk to.
Yeah. I can draw a little bit.
Well, they say if the grid goes down, like a city has about 3 days before shit starts to get real. Like, it's pretty scary. Like if that supply chain breaks down, it's like 3 days before people start really getting antsy.
3 days max. Yep.
Yeah, but scary. A little bit scary. There's a good novel.
I do have a vegetable garden out back now. That might last.
Four tomatoes will get you through.
No, I have multiple tomato plants.
I know.
I'm
kidding.
I don't have any.
It's last you long.
No, it wouldn't. Not with my kids.
Want to catch up?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I bought a chest freezer at the beginning of the pandemic. I got them right before they all sold out. And
powerful move. I love it.
I was just trying to be prepared. And for a while, it actually paid off because the grocery stores were just madhouses.
Next level got the wood chipper, so when the zombies do show up, they're going right into that wood chipper and coming out the other side. Totally that scene. Fed right in, head first, right in the thing, right out the other side. I'm prepared. Never know, right?
I'm right there with you though, Candace, as far as zombies. There was a period where that's all I wanted to read. Like when I shifted from Stephen King, the first book I picked up was The Rising by Keene, and after that, all I wanted to read was zombie fiction for like years. And then I was obsessed with The Walking Dead, and So, do you ever see yourself dabbling in that? I know you said it's all kind of the same at this point, but do you see yourself?
So before I started writing before I came out with my first book, I had been writing longhand in a bunch of notebooks, and I have this whole entire zombie epic sort of thing already half planned out, half written. There's entire backstories in there. It probably spans about 10 years of time. And I might get back to it at some point because it's not really anything like what is out now. It's a very different approach. It is a zombie book, but how everything takes place and what unfolds as far as the survival of mankind is not like what everyone else is trying to do right now. But I don't see me trying to finish it or put it out anytime soon, only because right now the market is just saturated with zombie everything. And I'm just like, I'm going to do something that's not being done. So I did the Werebear.
I was going to say, Werebear, you did that.
I like to see a book from the zombies' point of view, right? Make that the protagonist of the zombies.
Yeah. there is a I forget what it's called. It's like a horror comedy from the zombies' point of view, I think. But
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead. I don't know.
You.
Yeah.
Thomas Clark wrote a little novella length book where it's actually about like a zombie apocalypse thing, but it's told from the dog's point of view. Like a pet dog. And he's looking for like his pups and he's trying to like survive the zombies. So it's all told from the dog's point of view.
Nice.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. So that is one I actually picked up from him at AuthorCon. It's called Good Boy, 2 words. It's a little book about yay big though.
Huh. That's cool. See, another table I missed apparently.
He was across from us, like right against the wall. He was right down the aisle.
I had just read Left to You, so when I was like beelining to Volpe's table every time I went down that aisle, and he had such he had like a line of people every time, so I would all right, I'll come back, I'll circle back, and instead of just talking to people around it, like it was stupid. There's a lot of regrets I have from that weekend, but
there was a lot of people there, and there were so many of us that hadn't been out in so long. Thanks to COVID, I think a lot of people were just kind of running around and trying to see old friends and make new friends and introduce themselves. And then all the panel discussions and the readings. I think a lot of people missed a lot of people because for the next 3 weeks on Facebook in all the groups that I'm in, that's all I heard. You were there? Where were you? What do you mean you? I was there. Yeah.
Oh. It didn't work out. Like I told you, I drove down from New Hampshire and I hit so much traffic on the way down. I was supposed to be there at like 5:30 on Friday, and I didn't get there till 9 something.
Yeah, Donna.
I got there like 10 minutes before Grady Hendrix thing. So I didn't. Friday was a wash. I went into that, and then I went to the bar after. And because I didn't talk to any authors earlier than that, I was like too nervous to walk up to them at the bar and be like, hey, so.
Don't be nervous, because I was terrified, and I was terrified for months leading up to it because Brian Keene put me on a panel, and I was like, oh, no, sir, no, we're not, no, we're not. And then he scheduled me for a reading, and I was like, oh, no, nope,
oh man,
no. So then I did agree to do the panel that he had me on, and then I backed out of the reading only because first time doing anything like this. I'm not a public speaker. I'm socially awkward. I prefer to hide in very dark places, like leave me alone. And the panel, I thought, oh, that's cool, because I knew all of them because the majority of them were in the Baker's Dozen. And there were 14 of us. So I was like, cool. I'll come in like right before it starts. I'm going to take that last seat, blend in with the wall. And then by the time anybody like remembers I'm there, I can be like, oh yeah, whatever they said was great. He nailed it, just kind of. That didn't work out because when I walked in, Jeff Strand was sitting at the table, like right in the first couple of seats. Then he got up and gave me his seat, and I tried to make him sit back down, and he wasn't having it. And so I ended up being like the 4th person in the row, and it was just, So then I had to talk, and I believe the first words out of my mouth were, I'm sorry, I'm going to vomit, and went on from there. That's great.
Hey, I am terrified of doing live readings. I don't like, even when I read to my son at night, like in his room, I'm like butchering half the words. Like I just, I can read in my head, but when I'm reading out loud, I feel like I'm just like all over the place. I like make up words even that aren't in the book that just flow out of my mouth.
Same. Yeah.
But there's Joel. He connection issues out in the woods.
Yeah, it's Ghost in the Machine. I don't know. It could be Poltergeist. Who knows? We always bring it up. I have a cemetery that I have on the property here, Candace. So.
Nice. So when the zombies come, you're like front and center.
Oh, 100%.
You're going down first, dude.
Yeah, they're coming right up and out. There was something in the walls last night, John. I didn't tell you that, but it kept me up all night. It was like scratching and doing crazy stuff right behind my head in that bed. Right, there's a good premise for you. So run with that.
Joel lives in one of those houses that is like the center of a haunted house novel. Like it's like an old farmhouse out in the woods. And
that's great. I would probably live somewhere like that. I want to live somewhere like that. So
death has always chased me, not by design, just by default. I lived in a former funeral home too. That I just wasn't again. I wasn't like going through the real estate listings. Like you must have a former funeral home. No, it's just like okay, it was former. My father was a minister, so I grew up in creepy old parsonages and things too. So they would have used those as funeral homes back in the day. They would have used churches buildings. So it's like I guess it naturally felt most home to me through those settings, right? You go to a place like it feels pretty homey. God, why wouldn't it?
It's a funeral home.
Yeah, no big deal. So
Joel's right at home.
Yeah, you got it.
So do you sleep in a bed or a casket? Because
sometimes it feels like a bed. Depends on how much wild turkey I get in me. So it could end up anywhere.
Oh, he's got this like
wild turkey when I come to visit.
What I got tonight? I got this guy.
Oh, the chicken cock.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
great name. I'll remember that one.
It's solid, right? It's actually not bad. Pretty good.
Is it like I'm not? That's not my go-to. For some reason, bourbon and whiskey they don't blend well with my personality apparently. So I don't drink them too often. Actually, at AuthorCon, Volpe handed me a half glass full of just straight bourbon, and he's like, "Here you go." And I'm like, "Dude, I can't drink." So I'm sitting there sipping it like the whole time, and I just see those guys just like, I'm like, "You don't want me."
That could be the John that's needed during the apocalypse when you go to Candace's house would be bourboned up John. And maybe that's where
maybe
it's like your spinach to your Popeye, right? Maybe that's what you need. That's to get you there, right? So
yeah, I know.
Push you over.
I'll figure something out. I got to get researching stuff. My son watches YouTube apocalypse videos. He's 8. That's not a good thing.
He already knows, John. He's like, something's happening.
He's like, someone's gonna be the man of the house. No, he talks about stuff that I'm like, man, you are thinking way too much for an 8-year-old, buddy. Obviously, we make sure it's nothing like bad, like it's not showing people dying or anything, but like if the sun burnt out, what would happen, like stuff like that. If the world stopped spinning from gravity, like what, like, and they like show like fake 3D scenes of what would happen to the world. And so he like knows all that stuff that would like happen in those type of scenarios. I'm like, it's gonna give you nightmares, man. Like it's not horror, but I don't want to.
Has it given him nightmares?
No, not really. He actually does like scare. I've read Goosebumps to him. He Ghostbusters is like his favorite movie, so he definitely picks that stuff up after me. I was obsessed with horror as a kid, so
me too.
That's been really cool. As soon as I saw he was into it, I'm like on Amazon ordering all the Goosebumps books again. I had every single original. I lost them all. My parents' storage room had a flood. They got ruined. I'm like, I was so sad. But all the original Tim Jacobus covers, Joel.
Got a new one out, buddy.
Once. Yeah,
got a new
comic
book.
Yeah, they're doing a comic book with R.L. Stine.
With R.L. Stine. There's a new book coming out. Doing a cover too.
Yeah,
coming along.
Yeah. Anyway, we go on tangents here, Candace. This is what happens sometimes. So
I go on them often.
All right. You were saying that you wrote a lot on your phone initially. I was going to tell you when I was driving to AuthorCon. This is an experiment that I probably won't do ever again. But I actually wrote the prologue to the current novel I'm writing on my phone while I was driving with voice. It was.
How did that work out?
It was okay. But what was confusing was I didn't want to just have a one jumbled sentence when I like copy and paste it from the notepad or whatever. So I would say a sentence and I'd be like period or comma, and and so it would try to like break it up, and it did fairly well, but it was hard for me to like think through grammar when I'm driving, but it killed some time though. Jeez, Joel. It killed a couple hours stuck in New York City traffic. I was like, wow, there you go. When I get to the hotel tonight, I'm just gonna try to pop that onto my laptop. I didn't. I drank instead, but killed a few hours. So I definitely get the phone thing, but I'll have to look into those apps because the Pages app is terrible on the phone. You can't even you can't tab. You can't you can't. There's just certain certain things that you need when you're writing that you can't do in that app. So
there's another app called Wordsmith that I have on my phone too. And it is, I think it's like $4.99 a month. And it'll let you set up, you can jot down notes. And when you start writing a project, it'll actually let you pick a style, whether you just want to write plain text, whether you're writing a novel, an essay, a short story. And then as you tab, it'll populate like prologue, chapter 1, and like all of that. And when you are finished or when you're ready to transfer it to your laptop, there's a button that'll let you email it as text in an email it in a Word file directly to your email, and then you just open your Word file and you just work. There's 3 or 4 different options, I think, in order to get it from the app to your laptop. And that one I keep on my phone now too, because I use that a lot to write with. So I'm always on there too. So
I'm gonna have to definitely go back and rewatch this episode so I can make a list of this stuff. So Joel, you look frozen again, unless you're just really doing a good job of just not moving.
He might be frozen.
Yeah, his connection is brutal tonight. But we're coming up on the hour mark. I was gonna say, I don't know if you've ever explored this or not, but I think Bishop would be a pretty killer graphic novel too. I mean, there's some really cool scenes that would look awesome on page. Have you ever explored that side of things at all?
Not yet. I don't know any graphic artists. At least I didn't until now. It would be, and I'm pretty sure some people might like it, especially since I'm going to make it an ongoing storyline. So that might be something to pursue. My first 2 novels right now, I'm actually thinking about trying to get them into the movie arena at some point next year, because they would actually make really good movies, I believe. Sort of like, so my first one, when I wrote it, I had the movie Avatar in mind, like the blue world, not the anime Avatar, but the blue people. So my first book is like a combination between that and a fantasy novel and like a creature feature sort of thing. It's all very dark and twisted. And she, like, there's this young woman who she stumbles upon this pretty horrific scene in the woods with her friends. They go out for one last trip in the woods before the start of the next school year. And they go to camp somewhere that she has camped her entire childhood. She knows the place like the back of her hand and everything. And she goes to the stream to wash their cups and plates and stuff. And when she comes back, there's this giant monster thing in the middle of the clearing, like slaughtering her friends. So she takes off running, but she crosses this breach between her world, our world, and then one that has actually been created from her nightmares when she was a kid. So she doesn't know that at the time. She just, when it becomes light enough, she starts to realize she's not at the campground anymore. She's not where she knows. And that scene right there, that realization, would be, so in the Avatar movie, when they open up onto like their world, you would get that whole like change of, oh, okay, like you would have that whole mix of just everything's very gray, very bleak. It's not like a Wizard of Oz type scene where they go from black and white to bright Technicolor. It would go from bright to being very grim, very much like a hellscape type of place.
Yeah.
And the whole story like unfolds in this place, and there are very unique monsters there and things hunting her, and she doesn't have a clue what's going on. So the whole story is very much like balls to the wall. Like, I didn't open it with, here's her backstory, and here's this girl, and here's what happened, and we're gonna frolic through the woods, and we're gonna... No, I grab you from page 1 and I just rip you along. Like, here we go, and then it as she's like trying to escape from these monsters, and then people of course wanted a part 2 to that. Thanks, Mom. And so I had to write a part 2. So part 1 and part 2, now that you have the whole complete story there, but it's all actually based on a lot of the nightmares I had when I was a kid. I had terrible nightmares for years, and a lot of what I wrote into those books is actually the nightmares that I had as a kid.
That's wild.
I would love to see those made into some type of movie.
That'd be awesome. Well, I'm sold on. Are those? Do you have them on your website?
Everything's on my website. Breach and Beyond the Breach, and I actually had custom posters drawn from the actual stories in the description. So the artist that I used is actually the same man that did the artwork inside the Baker's Dozen, and he nailed them. Every creature that I had him draw, he nailed it, and the posters are fantastic. So I would like to see a movie company at some point take those and make them like a reality, like within the movie world, is what I would really like to see. But we'll see.
Yeah, you never know. I see. This is what I love about because Bishop was my introduction to you. So now like you have this back catalog, I can go back and read, right? Which I think is what any author would like, right? Every time you have a new book come out, you get new people reading, and hopefully they go back and buy your other stuff. So I'll definitely check those out. They sound awesome. So Joel, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Well, I can hear you, but sometimes you're not moving, and sometimes you're frozen. So I just never know which one it is right now. It's tonight. So
right now it seems okay. Okay. Of course, everything else is working beautiful in the house, but I don't know. This got just because I'm trying to do something, so something's messing with me tonight. So,
I was saying we're up on the hour mark now. I wanted to plug obviously Bishop again. We did it at the beginning of the show, but you can see it through this cool, crazy reflection. But definitely pick this book up. I loved it. I read it quickly. My Goodreads says it took me like 8 days, but that's not true. I had a sick household for like 5 days, so I didn't get to read it all. And I'm like, oh crap. But I flew through it these last couple of days. It's action packed. It's unique. To your point, like you said, you don't see any books with werebears out there, and there's not many with Wendigos, at least. That. I mean, I think there are plenty of Wendigo books. I shouldn't say there's not, but in this type of combination, going against the werebear and the whole scene, like I loved it. So that's my praise for it. I highly recommend it, especially for any survival type people that really enjoy the stuck in the woods trope, right? Trying to survive in the woods by yourself, especially in the snow. That terrifies me more than a Wendigo, I think. So,
is there an audio version, Candace, of that, a Bishop audio version?
Audio. I am actually in the process of approving it now. I just listened to the first hour of it right before I logged on here. Okay. So it should be approved. I should have it fully listened to and approved tomorrow. Then it'll go to Audible to approve. They usually take about 10 days. So by mid-July, like July 10th, it'll be out.
Nice.
All
I'm
of
a
my
big
stuff is out there now.
I'm usually drawing, so it's hard for me to read and do visual art, right? Because
Yeah.
it occupies sense. So I love audiobooks. You know, or I'm out farming and I throw on a book or something, or
Yeah.
so it's great. I love it. So that's very handy for a guy like me. So.
Message me, and then when it is approved, I will send you a free code,
I appreciate it.
You can check it out.
Yeah, I appreciate
awesome.
that for sure. Yeah, that's great. Love
it. You'll dig the book. Yeah, it's right up your alley too, Joel. So
I was saying when you crazy. Yeah, I got so many things to go through. It's a good time, man. Good stuff coming out.
Oh yeah. Well, we were talking about our piles from AuthorCon, and there's just so many books that keep coming out that like I want to read, and I'm like, God, like I can't. I shouldn't have bought so many at AuthorCon because I don't know if I'll ever read them because I'm never gonna not want to read the new stuff coming out either. So, I actually
just pick one up and read it. Just pick one up and read it. Just pick one.
I started this one today, the Circus Oasis.
I'm reading that now.
Oh, nice. Because we're probably going to have him on the show soon too. So I'm trying to jump the gut, get ahead of the curve on that one. But and then I'm reading Faces of Beth from Carver Pike.
Yeah, excellent one. Yeah.
And Ronald Kelly's memoir, he sent me an arc of it. So I'm digging into that, and I'm loving it. So so those are the books I got going on right now. But I'm only 10 pages into the Circus Oasis, so I can't really talk about it. I don't know much about the story yet. So, but anyways, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add to my sloppy praise of Bishop.
Your sloppy praise of Bishop.
Well, I'm used to a drink in my hand, and
glad you liked it.
I'm sober tonight. I'm used to having a drink in my hand when we're talking, so it's difficult to talk tonight. So
it's different. Go get a drink.
I day drank today. Remember? That was the problem.
You gotta slow down.
Yeah. So.
No, it's just I'm really glad that everybody liked it and that it went as well into the story as it was unfolding in my head. It can be hard to translate what you see up here into words. So I just try to make sure that what I see ends up being hopefully close to what you see as you read it. But it's been getting a lot of really good feedback lately. I think it's close to 60 reviews on Amazon right now. I'm pretty pleased with it. So hopefully the next one will be just as well received, and everything else I have coming out this year will be well received, and I can keep going.
Keep on going. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, sounds like you're crushing it, Candace. So you're a tough act to follow. You make me feel lazy, so I got to get my act together. So you got a lot of
I don't sleep.
Yeah. I try not to. I make the mistake of laying down. I'm out, so it sucks. So
yeah.
I got to ask before we wrap up too. Like I always like to ask horror authors specifically, what scares you the most, like in life or reading, or is there something that sets you on edge?
Oh, well, okay. I am claustrophobic.
Okay.
So being trapped underground in a small space or in a cave where there's no sense of light, or that terrifies me. Yeah. So something like that, something like being buried alive or trapped in a closet somewhere where there's no light. Yeah, no, I have a hard time going through an MRI machine at the hospital.
Oh. Yeah.
I can see that.
Well, just to add to that, I definitely have some of that claustrophobia myself. I think I got it when I was a kid, when my dad made me go underneath the on my back to like put insulation up underneath the floor, and I couldn't move. It was making me all itchy. I think that's when I started feeling it. But to your point about the caves, like there's here in northern New Hampshire, we have a lot of hiking trails where they have designated caves that like you go through. And there's one called the Lemon Squeeze. I don't know if you ever went through that, Joel. I don't think
I know of it, but I haven't been through it. Yeah.
They have 2 rocks like this before you go in, because they want you to say, hey, try to walk through this because it gets this narrow in there. And I'm like, nah, hell no, I'm not doing that. Like it's literally like, if you can't fit through this out here, don't go in there. And when we went on the hike, my son was so excited to go through all the caves, and my wife was like, are you going to go in there with him? I'm like, no. and so I'm sitting there talking to her about, we'll just skip this one. We'll tell him it's closed. I turn, he's in there. I'm like, shit. I'm like, this is like, it goes way around. So like, we couldn't see our son. And I'm like, I can't, like, what am I supposed to do right now? I can't, I don't want to go in there. And so I went to the other side, and I was like, trying to like yell down to him, and his foot got stuck in there too. Some other guy like had to like help him get his foot unstuck, and I'm like, I feel like such a loser right now. I can't go down there. So obviously I would have, if I heard him screaming, I would have just like gone in there. But it all happened so quick. I just tell my wife, no, we're not doing that. We're skipping this one. And then I'm like, where is he? And I see
him on a leash next time.
Yeah, I see the soles of his shoes crawling into it, and I'm like, no, get back here. And there's no backing out. Once you're in, you're going. So
yeah,
I agree with the claustrophobia 100%. That hit home.
Yeah, not fun. Not fun.
That's found its way into some of your books, John. You've done a little bit of the claustrophobic thing, right?
Yeah, probably that. And I actually wrote a short story about a character that is afraid of the ocean, because I almost drowned as a kid, and like I just it's always there. It's like I almost drowned in a lake, but then every time I go out in the ocean, like we were supposed to go scuba diving, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So they talked me into doing like snorkeling out in the ocean, and the first time the wave went over my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go up on the boat. You guys have fun. I'm just gonna watch you guys from here. Candace is like crossing me off her zombie list. Like everything I say, she's like,
you're not making a list, John.
Yeah. So my short story was,
can you do something?
I can.
You got to make the cut, John.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just gonna stop saying all the things I can't do. But no, my short story was about this couple that goes out, snorkeling out deep out in the ocean with these tour guides, and there's a shark attack, and basically the boat crashes at some point, and it's up to the main character, who is afraid of swimming in deep water, to have to go out in the ocean to save something, So I'm like, that terrifies me even thinking of that. If I was put in that situation where I'm like, yeah, my wife's over here dying on the boat from a shark bite, and I have to go out in the water to grab a phone to call for rescue, So that was a very terrifying story to write. But those are my only. That's it. Just fear of the water, the ocean, the deep ocean, and claustrophobia. I don't think I have any other phobias. If you need spiders killed, I can step on the spiders.
I wrote the whole claustrophobia thing into Breach, and part 2. There's a couple of very intense scenes with her in a cave, and I actually had to stop writing it a couple of times because I was freaking myself out. I was like, man, my blood pressure kept going up. I started sweating. I was like, listen, I need to stop.
That's awesome. Well, see, there we go. Another tangent there. We were ending the show, and
I'm sorry.
No,
I had to bring it up.
Hey, it just brought back memories of my son in a cave and gave me anxiety. So thanks.
That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
No, thanks for coming on, Candace. We'll have to have you back on.
Me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any last words? Got the last word, Candace. Floor's yours.
Buy my books.
There
Now
you
you
go.
can check me out on my website, uncomfortablydark.com. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all over the place. Facebook. So, yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited
Thanks,
to see all the new stuff coming out. I think we'll definitely have to have you back for a catch up here in a few months.
I still have to read the back catalog. I'm screwed. Yeah, I'm gonna. It's gonna take a bit to.
We have great authors like that's okay. We have great authors like Candace, keeping us well entertained. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Awesome.
You will have a lot of stuff by AuthorCon next year. You'll have about 12 new things to read. So
good Lord. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Wild that you can even do that. Good for you. But I'm excited to check it all out. Thanks for coming on the show. And
you're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Happy to have you on.
Yeah, pleasure to connect. Keep us posted. We tend to, like I always say at the end of every show, we adopt people we have on. So we're fans, we're followers, whatever we can do to support you. And we're always here for you. And thank you for your time tonight as well. We appreciate it. So
thank you.
Right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy. See you later.